In a week in which we've seen another return after 10 years on into WWE, that is, a return incoming on AEW and a surprise TNA return as well, with someone who is very close to, well, my heart anyway. From a wrestling perspective, we'll get into all that and more on This Week in Wrestling on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast with my co-host today who's having fun in independent coffee retail outlets in Birmingham. It's Mr. Dave Robinson. Afternoon.
Afternoon, mate. Did you see that then, did you? On Facebook?
Oh, I couldn't help but see it. I was having so much fun this morning watching my son play football, reading your Shakespearean coffee review.
Yeah, well, it's taken me 2 days to process it, to be honest, because I was just stunned. Stunned by, I mean, bad service in the UK, unfortunately. There's quite a lot of it. And I try and reward good customer service. I always try and leave a tip if you've had a good meal or if you've
Hmm.
had a good experience. But yeah, that was something that, like I've never experienced, mate. I'm a pretty easygoing guy. Think you'll agree?
Yeah, yeah. Knight's Independent Coffee House, everyone in Birmingham.
I
That's a
know.
place to be.
Well, the thing is, I hear any publicity is good publicity, so this might be counterproductive, really. They could
Yeah.
have a purple patch down and have loads of people go and actually, yeah, make them more money than they should be making.
They got
But
£500 in the till.
oh yeah, yeah, it's
Oh,
kind of a successful business there.
hugely successful and excellent levels of service. For those of you that have Dave on Facebook, go and read it. It's a great read. But while we're on the subject of bad service, and you didn't mention about a bad price, but it feels right that we go on to this. I sent you a picture this week, so we're going to start with good old-fashioned WrestleMania, folks. Yes, we're not in WrestleMania season just yet, but it won't be long before we're on that ever long or everlasting road to WrestleMania 42 once again in Las Vegas. Now, of course, on location, they do lots of packages, and there's lots available for WrestleMania. You can sit there with Undertaker and Mick Foley and rewatch their classic Hell in a Cell match if you've got $6,000 to spare, on top of your ticket money and your hotel and your flight and everything else. But there is a certain package that I sent to Dave. No, it's not. It is safe for work. That I sent today via WhatsApp earlier on in the week, and it was basically the ultimate WrestleMania package. It's 2 nights. It's everything else. You know, you floor ringside seats. You get to walk down the aisle and all of this stuff, and you can do that for the sum of around $37,000. Dave, you got that to hand?
Well, firstly, I enjoy any packages you present me with, but that particular package, yeah, that's not one that I could ever afford, and I'm s- I'm shocked that anybody, even if you kind of have got the disposable income, why you would invest it in something like that. I mean, the problem I have, and it's the same um with bands to a degree, and it's different because sometimes bands are like it's their main source of income, then the merch that they sell.
Yeah.
But you can go to a gig and merch is 20 quid, and you can go to a gig and the top bands, the bands that really don't need it, are charging 50 quid for a t-shirt. But as long as people keep paying it, they keep charging it. So I just wish those type of packages just didn't sell at all, regardless of how what's involved with them. When you kind of venture into that amount of money, I just wish that nobody purchased them. But people continue to do so, which is why it continues to happen. Um, but yeah, I think this is probably driven by TKO rather
Yeah.
than WWE. I'd like to think that it's like the parent company. They're like, let's, from a business point of view, because you wouldn't think the WWE would want to treat their fans with such disdain as to charge them that amount of money. I mean, the Undertaker Foley one for 6 grand, still not something I would ever do. But there's reported packages. Did you hear about the green T-shirt guy and what he paid last year to get his own WrestleMania entrance?
Quite a bit, right? From what I
So I'm
remember.
sure that was $50,000, or that's what was reported. And it's just, come on, like that's just so unethical. It just shouldn't. It shouldn't even be a possibility. They shouldn't be able to take advantage of people like that. Even people with that money to burn. It just should. It just should be. It just shouldn't be an option.
Just to read out what you do get. So 2 days. Oh no, sorry, it's floor seat, row two floor seating for WrestleMania. You get an on-stage and in-ring photo op, superstar walkout experience on the WrestleMania stage, reserved at seating at the Friday kickoff party at Area 15, and a 5-day VIP WWE World Ticket with priority pass, fast lane access. There's does say more details, but I'm not going to read it all off. Yeah, $37,500 for those people that are stupid enough. I'm going to say that. You can listen, if you want to pay it, more power to you, but you ruin it for everybody else that actually, we say ruining it. It's just being WWE being able to charge that amount of money for that whole package for me is just ridiculous. I remember the most I ever paid for a ticket at WrestleMania was about £150.
Yeah.
And that got me into, I think it was Miami, actually, the one that we met up at for the first time. And that was reasonably, it was tiered. I mean, don't get me wrong, I weren't at the front, but I certainly weren't at the back either.
No.
But $150 now would probably get me parking for that.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
about
because
it.
they wouldn't even get you into the event, like, comparatively. I mean, yeah, as you say, the people are stupid enough to buy it, but I also think there is a section of people that might just, yeah, but they're being exploited to a degree, and I don't like that because you've got
Mm.
those fees, you got your travel fees, your food fees, your hotel fees, your merch. You could clock up $60,000, $70,000 very easily by going to one WWE pay-per-view or premium live event. I just think something should be done about that. I just don't think they should have free reign to charge people that type of money.
No.
Uh, you could say it's an individual choice if people want to pay it, but I don't think it should be an option or exist to do that. I'm all up for charging for meet and greets, and
Mm.
I'm against wrestlers getting mobbed. And
Yeah.
I've said it before on the podcast, wrestlers that are walking through an airport and mobbed by people wanting to sign figures and cards and magazines is just too much. There's a better way of doing it, and if people have got to pay for those meet and greet opportunities, then fine. But when you're going into the thousands or the tens of thousands of dollars, I just think that is too far the other way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and do better. I mean, yeah, just do better. WWE, it's getting ridiculous. But on the subject of WWE and moving away from that, this week on SmackDown, for those of you that did see, there is a lot of stuff that happened on SmackDown, and we'll get to AKA the good stuff a little bit later on. But one of the things that did happen during John Cena's farewell on SmackDown, again, we'll talk a bit more about that in a bit, was Sami Zayn was getting the rough end of the stick this week in Glasgow, in Chicago on SmackDown. He was being heavily booed by the crowd. Now, I don't know if this is just going to be a 1 week thing, and it was because he interrupted John Cena and gave him the shot of the gold. There is a lot of talk, however, that he's going to win the Royal Rumble next year, being as it's in Saudi Arabia and his beliefs, politic beliefs, or religious beliefs, whatever you want to call it. Are we going to see Sammy being booed going forward, do you think? Or was it just a one-off because of the moment that he kind of inserted himself into?
I think the latter. Off the back of that, obviously Cena coming out, getting that huge reaction in Chicago, which was quite jarring, given Cena's kind of previous appearances and some of the history that he's had in the city. But I love this segment. I loved how it all came together, and I love the callbacks to the US title open challenge. But yeah, that reaction Sammy got was a little bit surprising. You thought they would both be like monster baby faces, but they were definitely boos. I think it was in reaction to Cena. Obviously, there's political stuff and bits and pieces which we don't really like to kind of delve into. We like to just deal with the show itself. Maybe there's a section of the audience that are turning on Sammy. Regardless of what happens, if that does play out at the Rumble, that'll be huge, and that will be one hell of a reaction. And we've spoken in the past about Sammy winning the big one, and Yeah, I could definitely see that. I would be behind that, but I think he still will be a babyface. I think the majority of the audience are still massively behind the underdog from the underground for a callback. And yeah, but we'll see. We'll see in the next few weeks what happens when he is in there up against heels, if you like, or the bad guys, and see what kind of reaction he's getting. So I would put it down to a 1 week, given how he was booked across from Cena. What do you think?
I don't know. I think this. I certainly think the crowd. I still think he'll get the crowd. I just think that perhaps they are in a situation where they probably don't want Sammy to be that man or wins, the Royal Rumble. I do listen. We're talking the Royal Rumble. That's what 4 months out of the way yet, but there is a lot of a push around him winning it. Perhaps for those wrong reasons I've put out there already, and I think it was partly because of what interrupting John Cena and doing everything that he'd done. I think there was a part of the reason for it, but I do think there's some that are kind of seeing that bigger picture and thinking that we don't want him in that position, so to speak. So I'm kind of mixed about it. I feel as if it was partly to do with what he was doing on SmackDown and partly because the fans just don't care about him anymore as much as they did before when he was the Sammy with the Roman and all of that sort of stuff. They cared about him more then. But I
Do you
think,
think the Killer Cross or Karrion Cross stuff has affected his momentum a little bit? Because he was kind of caught in the crossfire of that, wasn't
yeah, no pun intended, he was. Possibly. It's not the reason that obviously Cross has left the WWE, which we can now pretty much say for certain that that's happened and it isn't any form of work whatsoever. He could have been get caught in that crossfire a little bit. The fans, part of me, while we're on that, I just think, and if we ever got him on, I would say the same thing to him and see what his reaction was. That I felt that the clamour for him was too little, too late. I felt as if like myself, you, Andy, and the people on it, we were talking about him years before and saying that they just need to pull the trigger and think of something to come up with because he had it all there. I just felt that the fans left it way too late. I mean, we were saying that there was like 6 months to go, and all of a sudden he's getting the reactions that he should have been getting. And yes, there was that promo over WrestleMania weekend that actually rubbed people up the wrong way within the WWE. But my thing on that, just as a side note on crosses, I just think the fans clamored for him too late, and it was kind of WWE. That's kind of it already happened, hadn't it? Who left and come back pretty quickly in the WWE before? It was quite.
it? Our truth.
That was it. And I just felt as if they felt as if they could probably get their own way again. And according to Cross, there was a contract offer, but it was just for him. It wasn't financially, it didn't match what he wanted. And they didn't include Scarlett. They said they would deal with her afterwards, which was their words, not his. And yeah, I don't know. I just felt a little bit like it was, the fan clamor was too late in the day, really, for me with Karen Cross.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, certainly could have something to do with that situation. I just think with Sammy and him getting wrapped up in it, I think there was a little bit of because obviously Sammy ultimately went over in
Mm.
the last match and in the feud. Maybe there was a little bit of disdain towards him, similar to how we've had previous performers. I think it was if we go back to the time when Daniel Bryan at the time. I think it was Rey
Yeah.
Mysterio that got booed when he came out last in the Rumble. It wasn't so much a
Yeah.
reflection of Rey Mysterio. It was just the fact that fans wanted Daniel Bryan in that position. And I felt a little bit for Sammy because obviously a big baby face, phenomenal performer, and he's done some great things in WWE. He's run alongside the Bloodline, and then subsequently with KO with some of the best stuff we've seen from him. And then he's kind of not taken a nosedive as such, but dropped a tier in terms of involvement with like the main title picture, or the biggest stars on the show. So now he is back there with Cena. Maybe he's got a little bit of baggage because of what he's been through in the last few months, but. Well, it remains to be seen. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction he gets next week. I don't know where it is, but Chicago can be, huge wrestling crowd, huge wrestling city, and they are not scared to voice their opinions. So, yeah, we'll see what happens when they move to next week's venue.
Yep, we will see. That's for sure. Just another point quickly before we move. We'll come back to WWE after. We'll go into AW after this bit. I just wanted to ask because obviously Cody Rhodes has been missing from a few weeks now. Drew attacked him, kind of wrote him off so he could go and film Street Fighter. I must admit, I've been watching SmackDown and people have been trashing SmackDown a lot recently, and fair comment. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Um, I've kind of sat there thinking, we're used to champions being away anyway. It's one of those things when you're a world champion, you seem to get, cast or whatnot in films. I haven't missed Cody one bit since he's been gone. And I'm certainly not thinking, oh, he's coming back next week. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. Can't wait to hear your music again. I don't know how you feel about it, but do you feel that he's being missed or has been missed, or are you missing Cody Rhodes on SmackDown?
Um, no, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm missing him. Um, I think they've just had another baby as well, haven't they? Himself
Yeah,
and Brandy. So yeah, and
yeah,
then is the Street Fighter stuff. So it's nice in this day and age that nice probably the wrong word, but certainly in days gone by, performers at the level of Cody certainly wouldn't have been given that time off, whether it's to spend time with his family or other projects. So WWE is a very different company than it was a few years ago in that respect. So yeah, there's that element to it too. Uh, AEW, what they've done well over the years is cycle guys in and out, and I know Cody's the champion,
hmm,
but it can have more effect when you kind of bring people back as more of a surprise rather than having these big angles and writing people off and they're back the next week or a couple of weeks later. So I don't mind that in terms of a booking point of view. I think some of the other talent have stepped up. Obviously, we've still got Cena and we've got 7 more appearances. So
yeah,
he was a big feature on this week's show. I think it's his last SmackDown
it
appearance.
was. Yeah.
Um, so um, moving forward, I don't know when it's predicted he'll be back, but I'm assuming he'll be back by his Survivor Series. That would be
It might even be as early as next week.
Mm, yeah. So, yeah, but I wouldn't say I'm missing him, but I'd say that's testament to the talent that have kind of stepped up to me. I think SmackDown's been a good enough show. There's a few things I'd like to see changed. There's a few other people that are underutilized that could be in more prominent roles. I don't really know what's going on with I always talk about Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, but they've got a lot of they've got a lot of talent um, under contract that I think could really do well in more prominent roles. Something I've seen a fair bit on. I don't watch a lot of NXT, but I can't help to have seen the work that Ethan Page is doing alongside Chelsea Green. I think that could be a main event act. So I don't know if you've got more information on that or whether you've seen more of it on NXT, but that's something that's kind of making waves online on the internet, and I'd definitely like to see that on Raw or SmackDown.
I think that could be. I think what they're doing with that was testing the water with that, and it's working. So I agree with you. I think that could be something on the main roster that could work, especially you got the character work that both of them do anyway. I mean, Ethan Page is a great character as much as he is a great wrestler as well. Chelsea Green follows that mantra as well with those two bits. So for me, I would love it on the main roster, and I think it works. I just my concern would be it be turned into a comedy act when it really should be more of a serious. I say more of a serious because Chelsea Green is sometimes hard to take seriously, but I feel as if that could work on such a higher level than what I think it would work if they were brought up onto
Yeah.
the main roster. That's my view on that.
Yeah, I definitely like the humor, but as you said, there's
Yeah,
probably a way of doing it and keeping popular and keeping some of that entertaining stuff, but still be serious challenges. Well, like in the last few weeks, we've seen Becky Lynch kind of join forces with a
yeah,
men's faction, and here we're seeing Ethan Page join forces with a women's faction with the
yeah.
Secret Service. So I like that, and I think both can work. I think both can work. I don't think you need an all men faction or women faction. I think you can blend it both ways, and just what the work that Ethan's doing with Chelsea, that's something that we don't see a great deal of. So yeah, it would be interesting to see how it plays out. In terms of other rumours, and this has just sprung to mind given what we were talking about earlier in the week, is the Righteous being rumoured to
Yes.
potentially on the way to WWE. I think they could be a great addition to, well, Raw or SmackDown, really. I think I would like to see what they do on SmackDown. So there are free agents out there as well, but there are a lot of talent under contract, which in Cody's absence, in Roman's absence, and in anybody else that kind of gets cycled out, there are people that could be given an opportunity to shine.
And while we're at them, while we're on the subject of the righteous, Vincent, read your emails, buddy. Uh, quickly as well, if rumor is to be true. We'll get back on WWE. You've kind of segued nicely into
I'm a
AEW and
professional, mate.
yeah, certainly professional reviewer as well. And it's probably what happened. You do this podcast, and now you can do reviews on cafes and coffee shops and everything else. You kind of hit the nail on the head because we're talking about injuries or people that being time away. Obviously, Ospreay's having his neck surgery in a couple of weeks. Now, on top of that, this week they in AEW they wrote off Kenny Omega, Carl Fletcher suplexing him through the table. It is due to I know he's going to Japan to do stuff with Tanahashi. He's probably going to get some bits. I know he's got to get himself checked out while he's over there as well. The Japanese doctors are going to look at him while he's out there. But with that, and with that being said, now we've got the likes of Darby Allin back, and I know Orange Cassidy's doing something somewhere in for AEW. I think he's doing actually that in Japan. I think he's off to do that. But is there anybody that we could look at this point to step up into the Omega Osprey positions? We've got someone that's potentially someone that will be returning, which we'll get into in a minute. But who's your picks for people that could elevate themselves into that particular level?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because I know we want to talk about that imminent return and
Mm.
the man that has challenged him essentially. So Big Bill's somebody that I know there's been kind of he's been tried on the at a higher level in both WWE and to a degree in AEW. But I really think he is in the shape of his life. He looks brilliant. He looks like an absolute star. I think Brian Keefe at his side as well
Mhm.
adds something. Bit of comedy in there. There's definitely like every time they're on screen, I laugh at some point, but definitely I take Big Bill seriously. And I think he really, really could be somebody that could. His mic skills are very good as well. I think historically, when he was with Enzo, Enzo was the mouthpiece and Big
Yeah.
Bill was the muscle. And yeah, Big Bill added a bit. But over the years, I think he's such a credible talker, performer. You believe what he says. So I would definitely like to see Big Bill, regardless of who we're going to talk about in a minute. I'd like to see Big Bill get elevated. As I say, I'm only halfway through Collision. At the start, Danny Garcia, I
Mhm.
like what they're doing there with the Death Riders.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time before he becomes a Death Rider, and I'm really interested to see then how he can push on and try and take his game to the next level under the tutelage of Moxley and Claudio. Um, there's a number of young stars as well. There's a number of Bandito. I
Hmm.
know he's tag team champion at the minute. I, I seriously think he's in for a run at Wrestler of the Year. At least he's gonna, all these rankings and the PWI and stuff. I really do think Bandito is gonna fare well in any kind of year-end reviews. I know it's only September, but I think he's had a phenomenal, particularly the last 6 months, both in Ring of Honor, both in AEW, in singles, in multi-man. Um, and the last act that I'll mention is the Bucks because we
Yeah.
are seeing now the Bucks more perform more consistent, more regular. Now they've stepped away from the on-screen VP role, and they're having a lot of fun in terms of the jobber stuff and all of the things they've done to kind of mock the Bucks. We are seeing the Bucks in the ring more. So in terms of stepping up and who are we seeing? We're seeing a lot more. It seems ridiculous to say the Young Bucks because the founding fathers and obviously they've been a huge part of AEW from inception to the product that we've got 6 years in. But over the past year or two, we haven't had them week in, week out performing as wrestlers, and we're getting that now. And I love the multi-man. I love the 4-on-4s. So I think there's plenty there to you know, to get us through the end of the year and to get us through these injuries.
And the Continental Classic will be coming up probably in a month or two as well. Looking forward to seeing who's in that. But we keep saying about somebody that's imminently returning to AEW and someone that can easily fill that void. Thus, Entra Eddie Kingston, the Mad King, is coming back. And for everything Big Bill has done well, he must have a fucking death wish to call out Eddie Kingston this week on Collision. But it is going to be so good, Dave, to have the Mad King back in AEW very, very soon.
Yeah, obviously the fact that Bill's put out that challenge means that his return mustn't be far off. There was rumors that he was an outside chance for Forbidden Door, but I think Eddie announced going in that he wouldn't quite make it, unfortunately. I think that was one of his targets with the show he wanted to be back for. So he's not far off now. I think a match with Big Bill, something that I hadn't really thought of, but I'm really up for that. I love that idea. I don't know if Arthur Ashe is coming up for AEW, or I don't know if there's a big show in New York, because I would love to see that dynamic. Both
Mm.
of New Yorkers. Bill, although a heel, gets massive face reactions, even though sometimes there are kind of ironic. We saw that in the UK,
Yeah.
but he's certainly going to be popular in New York regardless. So Big Bill against Eddie in New York is something that I would definitely like to see. And yeah, Eddie being back for AEW is huge. Some of my favorite AEW matches, stroke storylines, stroke promos have included Eddie Kingston. And yeah, I want to put in a little joke here about me getting the t-shirt, but I know it gets under your skin and it upsets you a little bit. So we'll not talk about the t-shirt.
Let's not talk about the t-shirt, David. Still going to get that from you at some point. Anyway, so you haven't got it.
One more person before we kind of move on from Eddie as well. I don't know if
Mm.
you want to, you add anything on Eddie. One person I just thought of as you were talking was Juice Robinson, and not just Juice, the whole Bang Bang Gang. I think,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know how far Jay White's off a return, but it was great to see Juice back and having some good
Yeah.
matches. And I think he's somebody that has previously shown that given the right opportunity, putting the right matches against the right people, he can be a big star for AEW as well.
Yeah, he obviously trimmed his bush recently as well, either that or he stopped doing stuff with Tony Storm while he was away. But yeah, he looks a lot younger, does Juice. But
Yeah.
I'm going to throw one name quickly out there because he's just gone to AEW, Ace Austin.
Yeah.
No, when he gets feet on the ground, he's been there, but he's not quite. I think they had a lot, obviously storyline wise, going on headed into Forbidden Door and stuff. And now that dust has settled, and we're moving into All Out. I think Ace Austin could be somebody that could definitely fill that void of and hopefully we can come. He comes to the UK next time, and we can catch up with some more donuts with the donut eater that is Ace Austin. But yeah, looking forward to seeing him on a more prevalent. Week in, week out on AEW. We must congratulate someone on AEW, a guy well, I say with one of the most punchable faces in television, because there is one in the NWA that's got a more punchable face than this guy. But MJF, somebody actually married him this week. Alicia Atal married him. I, well, I mean, it was nice to see him break character a little bit, and he actually smiled for some of
Yeah.
the pictures that he had. Obviously, a lot of the wrestlers from AEW were there, but who would have thought the devil, the bastard himself, has finally managed to someone to be putting up with him 24/7.
Yeah, he's her scumbag now. So it was good to see those pictures. It was good to see people like Darby Allin and
Yeah,
the rest of the roster there with pictures. Because away from, you know, MJF blurs the lines with some of the things he says and does. An absolute sensational wrestler and character, and a huge success for AEW. It was good to see that although he's loathed and hated as a character, that the whole roster turned out for their wedding, and it looked like it was a great occasion. I saw a picture of Tony Khan there as well, and they had a picture
yeah.
with MJF, and yeah, it's nice to see. You know, we kind of get too much access at times to people's personal lives, but it was nice to see the pictures that have come out and them all having a good time.
Yeah, indeed. And last one on AEW before we move to TNA. It was announced by TK himself that this coming week and going forward, the commentary desk is going to be graced by the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Sooner or later, Dave, with the amount of commentators that have got, they're going to have to get one big sort of big table, aren't they, to fit them all on? But it's going to be great to have the American Dragon's input on Dynamite going forward.
Yeah, you see, I thought when I first read it, I thought, what, they're going to have a four-man booth or what they're doing with it? You know, three is a bit much at times. Two at time is the sweet spot.
Hmm.
And I do like a two-man booth. But if the, yeah, okay. If we're going to have a three-man and we're putting Shivani exclusively on Collision,
Yep.
which is what I've heard, I really like Excalibur, Taz, and Danielson. I think it would have been interesting to have Nigel and Danielson on the
Yeah.
same announce team. Then maybe that will happen at some point. But I think Collision will be predominantly Shivani and McGuinness. And then I don't know if we get a third there. I don't know if Riccaboni's joining them permanently. I don't know whether Daddy Magic, because they seem to have like a floating third
Yeah.
man on Collision rather than a permanent one. But I love Danielson as a commentator. I know he isn't. He's retired, but he's not. He's only retired from full time, so
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got a few more matches in him yet, and there's a few more I'd like to see in AEW. So his presence at ringside every week may well lead us to something. I don't think he's going to be all out or anything like in the near
No.
future, but perhaps in time we'll see something develop because of him being at ringside. There was another commentator that was rumored to be on the way out of WWE. And like everybody does, anybody you hear on the way out of WWE, you think, could they go to AEW? And I'm a huge fan of Wade Barrett's commentary. I was a huge fan of him as a wrestler and the bad news character. Me and one of my friends still, every time we see each other, start with, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Like, even like, what was this 10 years ago, that character? And
Yeah.
yeah, but as I sent to you, and as what's been reported now by Fightful, I think Stu Bennett has come out and said, I've just got some time off, guys. Like, there is
Yeah.
nothing to this. It's been planned for 9 months. There's not a problem. He wasn't suspended. It
No.
was just a case of, you know, he's off the road for a couple of weeks because he's taking some time out.
Yeah, and Dave's available for also voiceovers, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to hire him for that, reviews, voiceovers, anything like
Man
that.
of many talents.
Yeah, yeah, master of none, but man of many. Um,
Fixable.
yeah, but yeah, hit him up. He's available. Um, Moving on to TNA. So a couple of bits from TNA. I know you don't get time to always watch TNA. Now, some of this is spoilers, guys. So if you don't want to listen to this bit, then fast forward a bit further, about 10, 15 minutes down the line. There's two things that are happening. Now, one of the things that's not a spoiler is that Bound for Glory in October, it will be the Hardys versus the Dudley Boys one last time. And for those of you that like TNA, check out my interview with Kaz. That's in the playlist because I did throw two other teams in there that I would have loved to have had them in there for their last matches with. But coming out of the tapings this week, it turns out that it's going to be for the TNA Tag Team Championships. And I believe it's going to be a tables match now, which is rather fitting. I was dreading the fact that they was going to say TLC. I don't think I could witness or want to witness those two in a TLC match anymore. A tables match seems more fitting as it's the Dudley Boys' favorite. Did it need the TNA? I know Hardys are the tag team championships and it is Bound for Glory, and you would expect all championships to be defended at Bound for Glory. Does it even need the tag team titles on the line? And for you, is there still an allure of Hardys v Dudleys one more time?
I think so. I think so. And I'm the first to say when I think something is unnecessary or one match too far. But given given what we've seen from particularly Matt and Jeff and TNA, I think Bully keeps himself, in relatively good condition, ready to go. It, I don't know if Dave still. I don't know. I don't think they're past it, particularly for like a one-off match. I definitely think that it's something that the fans want to see. I want to see it. as you say, I don't catch TNA on a weekly basis, but I kind of keep up with the news and the happenings there. And that match is something that would make me want to watch Bound for Glory. So I think that's a good thing for the company. If you want to call me a casual TNA fan, the casuals popping in for those type of shows and even the run up to it and the fallout, I think that's a good thing for TNA. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Perhaps you could say it doesn't need the tag titles, but I don't like see that as a negative. Tables match makes sense. It also does open up the possibility. I don't know if they're saying it's the last match ever or the last time, because I know they said one more time, so I don't know if that means last time, but it does leave the possibility open to like, okay, we had a tables match, the Dudleys perhaps win that, you know. I know you have our match, a ladders match. So I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's a shrewd move by TNA to make that happen.
I think it's one last time. I
Yeah.
think that's how they're billing it. So
Okay.
we'll see. Just on a side note, another spoiler coming out of the Impact tapings. Ridge Holland gets a part of the tapings this week.
Okay.
He'll be on the TNA soon. Anyway, that's
Okay. Cool.
attacks Mike Santana. So probably a little bit going on to what's going to happen on NXT as well, perhaps. But a big one coming out of TNA this week, and I had to have a look and see if this was something that was going to. Yes, you are doing the. He's well. Some of you again. You're available for these type of things if anyone want to hire you. He's come back. It was only a one-shot deal, though, from what I've read this past. Just read before, as you sent it to me earlier on. Sorry, and that is Ken Anderson, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Anderson, whatever you want to call him, returned to TNA after a 10-year absence. Lots of people returning after a 10-year absence, funnily enough. We'll get to somebody else in a minute. But Mr. Anderson back. He has a tag match. So again, spoilers if you want to, he's in this a tag match with Macklin. Kaz interviews below again in the playlists. And Jake something he's in there with. But always nice to see Mr. Anderson slash Kennedy back in a wrestling ring, Dave, and someone who we've both really enjoyed watching over the years in WWE and of course in TNA for a run.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a fan of Ken. I liked his run in WWE. I also liked his run the asshole run. I had a couple of his t-shirts at the time. The pro I've got it on one of a picture somewhere. Pro wrestling is real, people are
People are
fake.
fake. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that with the mic on the back. I like the Aces and Eights stuff. I also read that he was due to go back to the company in 2020, but because of COVID, that couldn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's nice, even if it is a one-off, it's nice for him to get an appearance in a match. And yeah, we'll see where that leads. I know he does a lot of training himself,
Yeah.
and he's got a wrestling school, hasn't he?
He has.
And he does a lot of other kind of media work and podcasts and stuff like that. But certainly good to see him in a TNA ring. So I'll be looking forward to watch that when it's available to view.
You can watch our interview with Ken Anderson as well. Lots of plugs on this. He's also at Crossfire Wrestling, an NWA territory. He's going to be a part of that. I want to say October, start of October. So, yeah, great to see Ken Anderson back in a wrestling ring. And yeah, brilliant to see. I can't wait to watch the impact that he's a part of. He's a part of two episodes. I think they do one where he returns and then it sets up the tag match for the following week. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing that one. For the final part, we'll move back to WWE now, and interesting one. We was in Boston this week. John Cena, we've spoken about him before. He comes out, cuts a promo, and has a match with Sami Zayn. But it was the politics around this that I didn't like. So he's got his last match kind of in December. What I've learned and what I read, sorry, over the last couple of days were it was actually going to be his last match in Boston. But Boston, quote unquote, lost the bid to have John Cena's last match, whatever that bid or money or whatever comes back to it. And I think it's going to be in Washington now. Maybe that could be a nod to Dave Batista coming in and having the last match with John Cena. I didn't think of that until I was hearing about Washington and putting two and two together. Batista was one of Cena's biggest rivals, but is that a bit shitty for the WWE? Like, could they not just said to John, right, okay, you're in your retirement run. John should really dictate where his last match is, in my opinion. If he had the career that John had, and I know he's given a lot to WWE and he's a company guy, but surely if you want to go out and the way they've been doing it, he should have been able to A, pick his opponents, and he hasn't done because he's made it clear that he's just towing the company line, so to speak. And two, saying, I want to go out in Boston. That's my last show. I don't care what you do before that, but I'm finishing it in Boston. I feel that's really shitty on the WWE, them saying, well, they've lost the bid, so you're going to Washington to go, you have your last match.
Yeah, I, I feel like it could have been avoided. I feel like there was a world where John Cena could end his career in his hometown, his home city, where he's grown up. I don't really think that would have been too hard to orchestrate, really, given the amount of time, given the fact that we've known that John's retiring for the amount of time we've known that, and WWE would have known that even longer than it was public knowledge. So you would think that things could have been put in place so that his last night it's a fitting send off. His friends, family, his nearest, dearest are all there. It's a kind of celebration of his career at the end of the show to go off air. You'd think that would be the way that they would have wanted to do it, but yeah, Cena's never one to kind of really create any drama or problems backstage. We saw that with the heel run. He's kind of trusted the company and gone with it and give it his all. So yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world. It'll be good, whatever. But just Washington just seems a bit like, well, why there? Even if it was a city like Chicago, like what we saw on SmackDown, or something where something of significance has happened in Cena's career. Maybe there is in Washington. I can't think of anything, and I don't think they've addressed that. So maybe there's a master plan that we're yet to learn about. But you would think surely, similar to like Edge had the match in Toronto, and other stars have gone out, in a place that has meant a lot to them. I think going back to Daniel Bryan, I'm deliberately calling him Daniel Bryan because that was his name in WWE. When he kind of cut his promo, that was in Washington, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Where he's from, and it just I don't know. There was just must have been a way of doing that, mate, for me.
Yeah, definitely so. I don't like that. I think he should have been able to retire in Boston. Nevertheless, his next match has been confirmed, and to the surprise of absolutely nobody, with WWE counter programming. We need to talk about that actually. It's a bit I needed to discuss with you after. We'll talk about this first, and then we'll add that section in. I did forget to add it in. WrestlePalooza, an old ECW pay-per-view, is being reborn for WWE, coincidentally the same day as All Out. Sorry, we'll get into counter programming in a second. That match has now been confirmed. It's Brock, it's Cena, WrestlePalooza. Brock come out on SmackDown and destroyed Sami Zayn, hit John Cena with another two F5s, walked backstage and says, "See you at WrestlePalooza, bitch." And that match is now made official. Cena's surely got to get one over under Brock Lesnar because if I remember, he serves me right. Their last match was a SummerSlam one where Brock absolutely decimated John Cena in about 8 minutes. I correct me if I'm wrong on that, but surely Cena picks up the victory on this one.
Yeah, you would have thought so. I don't really see Cena losing now on this run. I think he's going to win every match, quite rightly, to be honest. Given how few appearances he's got, it's not like he's going to be on weekly television week in, week out having proper feuds.
Yeah.
He's going to have like these kind of showcase matches now, you would imagine, and not many of them because I know he wrestled on SmackDown, but he's got 7 appearances. That doesn't necessarily mean 7 matches. So his actual matches might be 3, 4, perhaps. Um, so yeah, I definitely think he should get one up on Brock Lesnar. I'm still not really behind this. I don't really think that Brock should be part of the with everything that's going on. I think that should be, innocent until proven guilty. Fair enough. But there's just so much noise, and I'm not sure how smart it is having Brock feature at the minute. I don't like the counter programming. Doesn't bother me.
No.
I'll watch both.
Yeah.
Given the choice of watching one or the other live, I'd be watching All Out regardless. Doesn't really matter what WWE put on the show. They could have Stone Cold versus The Rock as the main event. I'd probably still watch All Out and then watch the WWE show. That's just my preference. Um, but I think the counter programming is unnecessary, but maybe that's a good thing for the overall wrestling war. getting people talking, stimulating conversations, like the one we're having now. So I don't mind it, but yeah, I'd be quite happy for a show that didn't feature Brock Lesnar at this time in, that matter of time at this time, at this moment in time. Got it out in
There
the
we
end.
go. Get it out, Dave. Yeah, I mean, the good news for us is, as I said, for us in the UK, it's great. We get to see AEW first, and then if we want to stay up and watch WrestlePalooza live, we can do. If not, we can watch it on Netflix the next day. But should AEW had moved it, because well, what's happened here, and I've been reading it online, is that a lot of fans are saying, well, it's in Canada. We're traveling from the US. We've got hotels booked. Their check-in time is 3 p.m., the same time that the pay-per-view is due to start. So if you were AEW, would you have moved it, or would you have just sort of said, fuck it, we'll just run it at the same time?
I was right at the same time. I really would have. I wouldn't have moved it. I can understand why. I can understand why them being protective of their company and also like I'm sure this wasn't the only consideration or really a big one, but in terms of the wrestling fans that aren't going, that's a great day of wrestling, to watch the two shows back to back. Anybody with the time and inclination to do so, yeah, that's not a bad thing. But I personally would have stood my ground and said, no, we're putting on our show. If they want to counter program us, they want to put someone on, fine. We're still going to have the best possible show and get people talking about our product. And given the negative connotations associated with Brock, I don't know. Given the choice, one or the other, fans like me and you, I don't know which way. I don't know which way people would go in general. I don't know whether people would. That would make such a big difference to go. Oh, if Lesnar's on it, I'm going to watch the AW show. I'm not sure. Again, it wouldn't matter if Lesnar's on it or not. I'd be watching the AW show first. Um, but yeah, what about you? What would your decision be if you had the toss up of watching one or the other first? Which one would you opt for?
It's what I did last time they done it. I had one on my phone and one on the TV.
Okay.
So I'd watch them both at the same time. It's difficult to write down the stuff that's going on, granted. I think it depends on this because at the moment when I look at the All Out card as it stands, I probably would watch WrestlePalooza as it stands right now at the time of us having this chat. I'm more engrossed in a couple of things on there. We'll get to the first bit in a minute. Obviously, Edge and Christian FTR, I want to see. There is the coffin match now, I believe, which has been confirmed with Darby and Mox. So yeah, I don't know actually. When I come to look at it, I don't. I'm all right at the moment with Brock. I can see why people are not. I'm okay with it being on there if as long as it's just once and then he goes away. I don't know how true that is, by the way, if he's going to go away or not after that. So I don't know. I'm a bit. I suppose at the moment it is like a toss up, isn't it? What you'd watch at the minute as a fan. But my answer is I'd watch both because I can, and the way I can do it is phone and television. So I better watch it that way. But let's get to that last bit of news now. And it was the worst kept secret. I mean, fucking Shop Zone, WWE. Someone's got to get fired for that. Our good friend Wrestling Days tweeted out this week after Monday's Raw. When can I buy my AJ Lee merchandise? And the response from the Wrestle shop, WWE shop, was, "We should have something available by WrestlePalooza." And it was just unbelievable. They tweeted, they responded to that with basically confirming the news that AJ Lee would be returning. This was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday that they tweeted that, and you're like, Jesus, like, I mean, look, worst kept secret or not, AJ Lee comes back to WWE. Um, they are going to have that mixed tag. I'm sure that's going to be at WrestlePalooza. AJ Lee and Punk versus Becky and Seth Rollins. Monster pop for AJ, even though everyone pretty much knew. I would have loved it if WWE had fucking swerved it and brought out Rhea Ripley on SmackDown and just and brung AJ Lee back at a different date just because of, the fact that he'd already been kind of leaked. But the surprising thing that I read, Dave, and I know the term full-time wrestler doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be on the show week in, week out, but AJ Lee has signed a multiple year full-time contract with the WWE. Does that kind of surprise you that perhaps she's back for more than just disappearance, or is it a case of Punk's there, so it's makes perfect sense?
Yeah, in many ways it do. I don't know what. contract Punk's on in terms of his time left, but I didn't expect it to sign a contract. I thought it would be not even necessarily a one-off, but
Mm.
the occasional match, the occasional appearance. I really liked this segment. I think it was really good. I think AJ got a huge reaction, and it was pretty perfect, really. I like how Punk set it up. I like how he dropped Rhea's name in his promo and his
Yeah.
reply to Becky. But as you say, everybody knew it was coming. I often think with stuff like that WWE shop tweet, how often that they are doing things deliberately, and how is it a disconnect and some member of staff has just done that and shouldn't have, or is it a very deliberate thing and they don't perhaps pay as much close attention to the people like us on the internet that see those
Yeah.
type of exchanges as they do the general fan and a lot of the younger audience in the arena that perhaps aren't on Twitter. But yeah, a strange one to confirm it essentially. But I did like this. I think it'd be a good match again. Whether it's at WrestlePalooza, I'll ultimately watch it. It won't sway me to watch it live, if you like. Um, but yeah, well, so I don't think. Well, I'm pretty sure. I don't know whether Punk and AJ teamed together. In WWE in the past with the storyline with
They
Daniel
did.
Bryan. Yeah, but they certainly haven't teamed together as husband and wife, or
Nope.
as since they've been in a relationship. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm glad to see AJ back. Just a little surprised that, as you say, it's a long-term contract, if you like, where it seems that she's going to be part of the women's division based on that.
Yeah, I'm all here for that. I'll be looking forward to seeing part of the women's division going forward.
Yeah.
I love the return, loved how it was done. Even if you may be right, maybe Shop Zone brought it out, done that deliberately just to make more people want to watch the show as well. Perhaps, I mean, people are going to watch it anyway. The last sort of few thousand tickets went after
Yeah,
Monday's Raw, which
there you
shows that she's still a draw after all this time. And streamers have reacted. There's been tears on social media with her re-debuting. Didn't quite go that far personally, but yeah, it's been a good it's been an interesting week in wrestling for a lot of reasons, lots of stuff going on. I'll get into what we've got coming up soon, but 2 weeks today is the big one. It's the end of the summer party or summer ball, whatever you want to call it. It is Buckle Up Free with Ignite Wrestling. Every match has been announced now. The card is announced already. Go and get your last remaining tickets. Go for 96 Eventbrite and join us for the end of season party, shall we say. That is Buckle Up Free. Taylor James will be defending his newly won championship. That is the emergency. For anyone that heard that on my phone, that was the government sending us the emergency signal that they were going to do. So you may get a beep as well, David, if you haven't done already. I don't know. But
Oh yeah, I am on Do Not Disturb. Oh no, there it is.
there it is. Don't know if you heard my one be a buzz through, but anyway, Taylor James. I've just interrupted his match announcement. He's going to be pissed off enough this week when he comes on the show. But Taylor will be defending his newly won Ignite Championship against Corey McRae and against the best in show Gene Money, who has just won championships in North and Progress Wrestling over the last few weeks. So he wants to make it a hat trick in 2 weeks' time at Buckle Up. And of course, our championship, the Turnbuckle Championship, will be on the line. Aluna makes her second defense against the debuting cheeky little bugger that is Alexis Falcon, and her other side of the cheeky little buggers, Charles Crowley, will also be there going against Tommy Kyle, the former Ignite champion. But the match card and everything else you can get off of our socials, off of Ignite socials, so go and check those out. Coming up on the show this week, in terms of recording, I'm recording with one of the hottest free agents in wrestling, August Artois. So I'll be recording with him tomorrow. Will Scar and David Bartholomew will be coming back on the show. Those of you that know from If We Wrote the Theme on Spotify, they're going to do a top 10 with me. The top 10 wrestling video games will be recording this week. So that should be fun. I've already mentioned Taylor James will be on this week as well. Can't wait to talk to him. Yeah, he's going to be fantastic. And then alongside that, just the week of Buckle Up will be a bit of an Ignite takeover. CJ Carter, as always, will be on that week to discuss Buckle Up Free, as will Tommy Tanner. And I'll be interviewing the man that runs the Black and the Brave Wrestling Academy with Seth freaking Rollins. Marek Brave will be on talking to him about running the promotion with Seth Rollins, and maybe a couple of other bits to be sneaked in there as well. But Dave, it's been a good week in wrestling. Thank you as always. You're probably going to have a load of messages now saying, "Can you voice over this? Can you come into my shop and review my coffee?" So I'll let you enjoy it. I'll let you enjoy that, and we'll do this again probably next Sunday. But from the problem child himself, living up to his name now. I've been your host, Adam Cousins, and you've been watching the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, goodbye.